Barton Malow has been working with General Motors since the 1950s. The relationship began with various maintenance and miscellaneous work on plants in the Detroit area, where GM was founded and is still headquartered, and has expanded to include projects of various sizes and scopes since.
One of the biggest programs Barton Malow and GM have worked on is the automaker's M5 Productivity Improvement Plan, which consisted of design-build work across 8 of its North American locations in a 2-year span. Utilizing goats to clear vegetation on a steep hillside to save on manpower and ensure safety. We've done that.
Watching a world-renowned architect crumble up a piece of paper and tell you that's how they want their building to be designed, we've been there too.
Ever envision a bricklaying robot or material lift unit assisting laborers with building? It's happening now on our job sites.
Every project has a great story, and our team members have more than a few to tell throughout Barton Malow's 100 years of business that don't fit the usual industry coverage. I'm Rob Riley.
And I'm Eric Fish. We're both Barton Malow team members and the hosts of this podcast, and we're going to be bringing you the untold stories from the job site. It's construction, but it's said differently.
This episode of Said Differently will focus on one of those locations, Arlington, Texas, and on a specific concrete placement that was done there in the winter of 2018.
Known as the MegaSlab and consisting of 6,470 cubic yards across 256,100 square feet, it stands as the largest continuous steel fiber pour done to date. It's also a part of Barton Malow lore, but not just for its size and scope, but because of how it kept the greater project on track.
And as you'll learn from listening, there were also a lot of challenges that our self-performed concrete team had to overcome to ensure a successful outcome.
We're pleased to be joined in studio by Ethan Uhl, Tom Binkowski, and Brian Willard, all of whom were instrumental in the planning and execution of the MegaSlab.
Ethan Uhl, General Superintendent for Concrete, been with Barton Malow 16 years.
Tom Binkowski, Senior Director with Concrete, and 39 years.
Brian Willard with Senior VDC Manager with VDC Building Trades, been with Barton Malow 12 years.
Let's talk about what the difference between cement and concrete is.
Cement is the powder product to make the paste in concrete. So without all the other ingredients, it's just cement. So we're a concrete company.
Before we get into this, can you just describe what does slumping mean?
Yeah, so it's basically just the viscosity of the concrete itself. When they do like a concrete like slump test, it's like in a cone and you pull the cone up at like a certain pace and then they measure it, and that how far it slumps down, and from the top that gives you your range of slump.
So what I was taught when I was 12 is like pancakes, right? You want a good pancake mix, so when it hits the pan, it spreads out and you get a nice looking pancake, right? If you got a stiff mix, you get like this big pile, and it don't look like looks like a biscuit or something, not a pancake. So that's like the analogy I was taught of.
Let's talk about the MegaSlab project and the involvement in it. How did this idea come to be? Let's maybe go there.
We were down in Arlington, Texas, putting the body shop addition on the GM plant, and we were, halfway through the slabs. We're getting towards the end. My role at that project, I was the superintendent over the concrete team. Ethan was, at that time, you were still in charge of just place
I was
and finish.
like general foreman, place and finish. Yeah, so Brian called me early. It was like early September, in August, September sometime, I think, is when I got the call, asking if we could accomplish this. And like I said, I think the phone got quiet for a minute. And I think I, said something along the lines of like, well, yeah, I mean, anything's possible. We can achieve anything, if we put our minds to it. But probably not ideal, so let's get some more information and kind of further the conversation. So I think over the next couple of weeks, Brian did that, got a bunch more information, worked with the project team, kind of started narrowing down like a timeline of when the possibility would be to try to accomplish this size of a pour, and kind of started from there. So I think, over the course of September just was more of a information gathering thing. And then sometime like mid-October is when we really started planning, bringing in some trade partners and stuff like that.
Did we have time to do any type of planning ahead of time? I mean, I know we can do as much like crunching on a computer and stuff as we can, but like in real life, like what was there anything that we we could do to ensure success?
Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of things, honestly. I mean, there was a lot of planning. Again, I think there's when we were all said and done, I mean, there was about 3 months of planning that kind of went into this. But, from the month of September, just gathering information with exactly where the project was going to be at, with how big this pour was going to be. It turns out it was, around 256,000 square foot is what we ended up doing. So once we got all the information and kind of figure out where we were going to be at, where the project was going to be at, then we were able to kind of start planning from there. So, I mean, we even used, 4D model to kind of help show us. We went through everything and just timed the laser screed. We timed, each pouring each truck and put that all in a model and played that out to see how much time it was going to take. And that's kind of where we got some of our estimates, estimated times, to complete and do some of this. So we utilize technology and utilize just our knowledge of our everyday means and methods to kind of come up with a game plan on how we're going to do it.
Can you talk a little bit about, vendors and suppliers and trying to just coordinate all that?
Yeah. So, going through, General Motors was a part of the process. Also, Barton Malow leadership, again, had to weigh in on this heavy on, what it's going to do to us as a company. I mean, there's always the thought of you got to take it in consideration failure, right? I mean, these guys planned it to the T, but a big thing was partnering, because otherwise, the resources, our fear was the resources that we would pull to pull this off from Michigan would have hampered a lot of other programs. So that's where the partnering came in with UCS and Lloyd Concrete to be able to kind of keep our normal workload going, plan for this, prep for it, and make this placement.
It looks like we were at roughly 134 people is what it took to pull this off. As far as equipment, Barton Malow owns a lot of our own equipment, but I think when something happens like this in the concrete industry, I mean, all of our vendors, whether it was Allen Engineering, Whitman, Multi-Equip, Somero with screeds and stuff like that, it was, like I said, it was kind of just open arms, like, hey, how can we help? What can we do? We'd love to get equipment there. I mean, everyone was looking forward to it. Look, I mean, hindsight, we had way more than enough equipment. I mean, we had almost too much equipment. It was just trying to keep it all staged and whatever. But I guess when you're doing something like this, and as Tom mentioned, just the possibility of failure is you just never want to have not enough. So it's like, I'd rather have too much than not enough. So that was great. I mean, it was definitely, really good feeling to have just, an outpour of just, generosity and support from all of our vendors and stuff like that.
I specifically remember, I think it was either the day before the pour or night before the pour, when I walked in there, it literally looked like an equipment rental house. That's how much equipment was there. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, because we started taking equipment in the whole week before, so we were staging it out. Something that hadn't been done like that, and everybody just wanted to be part of something cool.
There were 5 batch suppliers that you guys were working with?
Yeah, so one ready mix supplier, but they had 5 batch plants. One of them was intended for a backup, but I believe we ended up using it right away just from the cold weather that hit the morning, or really that week prior leading up to this job or this slab pour. Had a couple batch plants freeze up and break down first thing in the morning, and then I think they fired up their backup right away, and then I think they ended up keeping it on the whole time. So just supplementing some trucks out of there.
Yeah, they definitely ran out all 5 batch plants the whole time. It was, like you said, it was a super rough start, but we started hitting stride probably right around the 8th hour, 9th hour. We started gaining momentum and got back to the yieldage we wanted per hour.
When you're dealing with that many batch plants, is there a concern about consistency and differences with the concrete, and how was that remediated?
We color coded all of them, similar to the way we color coded ourselves. Because we had 4 teams, we had a blue and silver team, and we had a red and orange team, so we knew where everybody was at when we made the transition. But same thing with the batch plants. Each plant had a color code, so when they come in on their mirrors, there was a color associated with which plant they were coming out of, and we kept them to the same location each time. And that's why we loaded the fibers on site, so we didn't have to deal with them getting so different on their end. We were controlling the slump and the fibers on the site.
So you hinted at it with the batch plants like freezing up, so you're in Arlington, Texas, getting cold is not really something that happens down there often. So you just had an unseasonable storm come through, or just unseasonable temperature dip, right? And so how did you guys account for that? Yeah,
so when the weather turned, I mean, me and Ethan were down there 2 weeks before the placement, and we seen the weather turning. And then we started playing in because that was not part of the plan. We had a whole execution plan and backup plans, but weather was not one of them. We had a plan to burp the building to get the CO out but we didn't plan for weather. So we ended up getting heaters, which was super expensive truck down there. And then we, took some precautions to get some salt to salt the roads in case we started getting ice. And then we just prayed.
Yeah.
prayed that we got the building warm enough. We get the trucks in there, concrete would set up the right way. And we just controlled the heat the whole time during the placement. And then 7 days after the placement.
Yeah. I mean, so like Brian mentioned, we were down there 2 weeks before, saw it coming. When we were back down there leading up to, a couple of days prior, Brian and I went to a couple of batch plants, and it was cold, and it was probably early morning. I think it was like mid morning, like 10 o'clock or something. We were at a couple of them. They were freezing up, and I think Brian and I were getting a little nervous. But, I will say the one thing I think we had playing in our favor is we started our pour at 9 o'clock at night. So our hope was that you're still kind of coming off a little bit of the heat of the day, and really you're not hitting your coldest time of the night until like that 1 o'clock mark. So at that point we're already rolling. So once we get going, like the biggest thing was like just getting going. Once you get going, we should be fine. And that proved true. Once we got going, we were okay, but it was definitely a little bit nerve-wracking leading up to it with the colder temperatures, just because down there, they're not set up for it like they are up here, so it's like you get down to below freezing or at freezing, a lot of times they shut down. So we're in Michigan, you're usually 15 degrees is when they'll start shutting down up here. So
Brian, part of the planning too, didn't we do this on a holiday weekend?
Yes.
For traffic patterns and everything.
So it was planned for a shutdown. The plant only shuts down on holidays. That plant runs 24 hours, and our access point to where we had the access for the placement is in a very congested area. So the whole plan was to do it when the plant was shut down. So we did it on Martin Luther King weekend.
Yeah, I think that was also help. I mean, that helped with Ready Mix. I mean, that was kind of the way they agreed to, because, they had to shut down every other job that they were supplying to. Same thing with everything, it worked into our favor, just trying to do it over a holiday weekend. We started Friday night, poured all day Saturday and finished up, Saturday afternoon sometime, and then finished into Sunday. But yeah, just having that long weekend was good to get, everyone's support and just 100% focus on that project.
Can you just talk about like the night before, like what was going on? I think, getting everybody just aligned, and what was the temperature in the room? Yeah,
I mean, I would almost say it's kind of like going to play in the championship, right? Like no matter what sport it is. I mean, I felt like for concrete people, like that's what it was. That everyone was just geeked to go do something that a lot of people have never done before. So there's definitely a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, anxiety for, I think, probably the people that were leading it and planned it, because if it didn't go good, right, like everyone's gonna be looking at us like, what did you guys do? But no, I mean, I think, setting this up with, like Brian said, 130 some people, all in the room talking about what the game plan is. I mean, I'd imagine like that's exactly what championship teams do, right? Like they talk about what their game plan is and how they're going to execute and stuff like that. And that's exactly what we did. And, we had a consultant, SSI was our consultant for that, and they were there to support. And I mean, it was pretty awesome. It was definitely nothing I've ever done before. It was pretty sweet.
And so sticking with that analogy, you guys had alluded to it earlier in this discussion, but you didn't get off to a great start. First few innings, so to speak, were a little rocky. Explain that process and how you guys righted the ship to, I guess, pull out the win.
So we got started and realized we had a pretty lapse in service from our supplier. They were under the same stress these guys are, because, I mean, they fail, we fail, everyone fails. So they were trying to work on a few things, but they had, I think, 3 plants, and then the 4th go down within the first couple hours due to weather, inclement weather. What they were trying to do is salt to get the trucks to the hoppers. We had our consultant, SSI. We relied on them heavily to make sure everything's good, kind of an appeasement between GM and the engineers and everything. I'd say about an hour into it, they started saying, hey, I think we need to pull the plug. And that's like the last thing you want to hear when you got, 100 plus people there and everybody, all of the planning these guys did. So we rallied, we got a hold of the supplier. We did whatever we could to get the plants going again. And I think in about the 3rd hour or 4th hour, maybe a little longer than that.
It was probably right around between the 4th and 5th hour. So like, I think it was planned for, we planned for 400 yards an hour is what we were wanting to get. And I think in the first couple hours we were like at 200, and it wasn't just, I mean, yeah, it was a slew of things. It was slump. It was plants breaking down. whether it's freezing up. I think the one had a power surge or something. Yep. So it was just, it was definitely just a rocky. It's like not how you want to start anything, right? So once we hit, I think, honestly, Tom and I, we were slumping trucks. So we were starting to climb up on trucks, slump the concrete ourselves just because they were coming out of slump. And it was just, rather than trying to reject them, it was just adjust. We had the water adjusted, adjustment on the truck.
Because like I said, we just took control of it, and it was the only way to get things moving again,
Yeah. So then I think like right around that 4th or 5th hour mark, it kind of started coming back. We started hitting 300 yards an hour. And then from there, we slowly gained on it. I mean, there was hours, I would say, in the middle of it, we were probably hitting 500 yards an hour. I mean, we were definitely cooking. I think we ended up at like 320 or 330 yards an hour average overall.
The average was 365. You're spot on. Higher, we hit 500. They started giving it to us. They started cramming it down, and they got up to about 500 an hour.
But when you're putting 500 yards an hour down 8 inches thick over a surface area, these guys were amazing. They did a great job.
Can you talk about what the safety plan was for this thing and what that looked like?
We did a really good job with the safety plan, and I can't, our safety department, hats off to them. They do a great job. I mean, that's why we ended up with having 2 shifts. So nobody got burned out. Nobody got exhausted. We took our whole safety team over to Ready Mix and did an orientation with the drivers 3 days before just so they knew what they were getting into. We put anybody that directed trucks had high vis gloves. It wasn't just everybody waving their arms like, one person is directing you. We had a nurse on, nurse station right outside the pour the whole time. We rotated that person as well. I thought we did a great job.
They did a whole orientation at the hotel too. As we were kind of briefing everyone with the plan, they did orientation for everyone that wasn't on site. We had the refreshment stations. I mean, all kinds of food, energy bars, stuff like that. I mean, we had that was stocked full with all kinds of stuff.
Think about it though. I mean, we had no issues. I mean, you got 131 people interacting with 640, 7 trucks came in there. Not one safety situation.
Yeah.
Not a, smashed finger.
Yeah.
Not a splinter.
Yeah. I mean, so short of just being a rocky start, and after 4 to 5 hours, so what was it, 1, 2 in the morning? After that, things really started going. I think there was like a point too. It was like once this light started coming up Saturday morning, it was kind of thing we all kind of like grouped up. Me,
good.
Tom, and Brian were like, "Oh yeah, we're like we got this now, right? Yeah, like we're good. Like we got this thing. We got this thing kicked." So
I know you said you guys went and slept afterwards, but what you guys finished up. 21?
We didn't leave until everything was poured out. I think we even stayed a little bit longer. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so we were there. The placement took 20 and a half hours. I thought it was 19, but
it was 20.5
hours. So 20 and a half hours. I think we were probably there around 24, just to make sure, again, all the finishing was good and everything was smooth on that end. And then we ended up going back to the hotel for a few hours. Not long, because I mean, at that point, like, you're still not sleeping, right? Like, I was exhausted, and I was able to sleep a little bit, but I think we were still.
That adrenaline.
So 24 hours would have been 9 o'clock Saturday night. I think, I think we were back up by 4 or 5 Sunday morning. I think by the time we got back to the hotel, took a shower, and back at the job by 6 o'clock for sure. Sunday morning, just cleaning out. And at that point, honestly, like, it was in pretty good shape. I mean, things were cleaned up. We had a few more hours of work, and we were good to go.
Well, when we got there, they were already loading their trucks out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They were already taking their trowel machines and starting to load them down. I know the screeds were going on like as quick as everything came there. It was even quicker when it was on the way out. I mean, it was planned to go 17 to 19 hours for us to place, and we just should have been out of there. And I think we had 28 to 30 hours or 31 hours to finish. We ended up finishing the whole thing in 32.5 hours done, completely off the floor.
Yeah. So it took 3 months to plan and 30 hours to do. Yeah, I mean, by the end of the day, Sunday, we had into Monday. By Monday, because Monday was, Martin Luther King Day, so the plant was still shut down. So Monday, end of the day, Monday, everything had to be back to normal for the plant. And I think by Sunday afternoon, everything was done. We had it back to the way it was. The roads were opened. We had a few things to offload, that coming week. But majority of everything was out. Like nothing ever happened.
We just keep hearing these stories of this golden trowel. Like what's the story behind that, and where does that play in Barton Malow lore today?
Oh boy! So through ACI, they do a bunch of different criterias to get yourself a golden trowel, and it's very prestigious. I mean, some people get them for the specific flatness of a floor or super flat floor. Well, this happened to grab a golden trowel nomination for a world record steel fiber floor placement, which is still held by Barton Malow today.
I think our FF numbers were like 54 flatness and 48, I think, levelness, which typically like a golden trowel, like you need like 90s and 80s, right? But again, due to the sheer magnitude of the slab itself is kind of what helped get that. It's Barton Malow's first and only golden trowel right now at this point.
So compared to the MegaSlab pour, how does that compare to stuff that's gone on over the last 4 years, like some of these other big projects that we've been working on, whether it's the battery facilities and things like that? In hindsight, yes, that was the biggest one we'd ever done. But now, are we doing massive continuous pours like that? But are we doing big things like that now or not? Does this still stand on its own?
I mean, we do some large placements. I think our normal is right around 50,000 square foot slab pour. I mean, give or take. I mean, we can go definitely bigger for sure. Again, part of it too, it isn't just about, hey, this is a standard or hey, we can do this, right? We've done it once, we can do it, because there's still risk there, right? There's concrete, there's a lot of different layers of things that we need to make it happen. So it takes the right project. The project has to be in the right point of construction and all your trade partners have to be lined up. But again, some of these battery facilities don't really allow for that because you need the slabs in order to get your clean rooms and the next steps in. So in order to wait for 500,000 square foot to be available, you're losing weeks of other construction that need to get done. So that was what recently, that when some things were discussed, that was kind of recently what deterred us from looking at it any further. So again, I think it's really just the right project. And would we do it again? Yeah. I mean, if the owner, if that's what we needed, or if that's what we were backed in the corner to do, I mean, that's what Barton Malow does.
This is Said Differently, a Barton Malow podcast.
For more information on the MegaSlab and the GM M5 Productivity Improvement Program, visit www.bartonmalow.com.
This is Said Differently,